everybody, this is Dave here at Pulp Alley, and today we're going to talk about one of the abilities in the Pulp Alley tabletop game. Now, it doesn't matter if you're a new player or a veteran player that's played 100 games. I think you're going to get something out of this video, so please watch it until the end because we're going to cover some tips. We're going to cover some things that you might not have thought about the Reanimated ability. Now, this ability is typically taken for skeletons and zombies and so on and whatnot. You know, you as the player decide what you want to give the Reanimated ability to. Now, I think if there was a candidate for an ability that is, misinterpreted more frequently, it might be Reanimated. It does get misinterpreted fairly often. Now, I don't even know that that's necessarily a bad thing. I'm going to show you the way that it was intended. I'm going to explain the rule and show you the way that it's supposed to work and some of the things that you might not have considered as well. Now, I go through all that, and you have been playing it differently, and you go, well, you know what? I think I'll keep playing it differently, and that is cool. You know what? You play the way you want, but I am going to show you the way that it was actually designed and intended to be used. So, before we get too much further, guys, will you take a moment right now and make sure you're subscribed to our little channel. If you're not already, make sure you hit that like button and the bell so that you get a notification when we upload a new video. So let's say we have a character here. Our hero is taking on a little group of Draugr here around these standing stones. And she's facing off, and we've decided to call them Reanimated. We've decided to call them Level 2, so Reanimated. And we have the summary there on the card. It says, automatically pass all 1D health checks, cannot move over 6 inches except to rush. You'll notice that it doesn't mention dodge there. If you look in the proper rule book, it will say that you cannot dodge. But if you look up here, dodge has been reduced to a no anyway. So oftentimes the rules on the cards have to be a little bit summarized once in a while to make them fit on the cards. So one more time. Reanimated. Automatically pass all 1D health checks. Cannot block. So it's that automatically pass all 1 dice health checks that frequently gets misinterpreted. What does that mean? What does that mean that you automatically pass all 1 dice health checks? So the most common misinterpretations that I see are that someone just assumes that you automatically reduce the number of hits that they take every turn. Let me get some dice out here. So let's say our hero is facing off against these Draugr. She's rolling 4 die 10. And the Draugr fight back with, that's we'll say like 3 die 6 or something. I don't know. I accidentally pulled out the gang card. So a gang of Draugr would actually be rolling something like 4 die 6. But they're down 1 model because I only put 4 out here. Anyway. So what it means is that if they suffer a single hit, then they automatically pass it. That's what a 1 dice health check is. So if they suffer 2 or more hits, Reanimated has no effect whatsoever. That's because it's not what it says. The rule says they automatically pass all 1 dice health checks. So what that's intending to represent is the idea that you've got to go for specific shots on them. And that means that you need to score at least 2 hits to be able to damage them. And if you do cause 2 hits, then you roll damage as normal. You don't automatically subtract 1 from every time you hit them. That's not what it does. Another interpretation that I've seen is that when they roll their health check, if they only fail with 1 dice, then sometimes people will interpret it as meaning that they automatically pass with one of their dice. So if they passed on, like if you were rolling a 3 dice health check and you rolled 2 successes and a failure, well, then they would say, well, because they're reanimated, that failure is automatically passed. See, 2 successes and 1 failure, so they would say that was automatically passed. And that's not what Reanimated does. What Reanimated does is anytime they only take 1 hit. So if you hit them with 1 hit, or if you are, right, if I rolled my 4-die-10 and I only got 1 success, then it's going to do absolutely nothing because they automatically pass all 1 dice health checks. And what you have to remember is, what is a health check? If I hit them with 3 dice, that is not 3 health checks. That's not 3 1-dice health checks. That's not what that is. That is 1 health check with 3 dice. Right? So the reanimated ability has 0 effect, has no effect if they take 2 or more hits. Because that's not what it says on the card. All it says is that they automatically pass all 1-dice health checks. So here's another interpretation that we run into sometime, and that is perils. So, right, when you're drawing perils on them, if you draw a peril that has a 1 on it, I've seen people say, well, that doesn't do anything. They automatically pass that, so they continue their activation as normal, and that is not what happens. Remember that they still take that hit. They still suffer that hit. They still failed the peril if they failed it. I'm not saying that they automatically fail all perils. But even if it is a 1, if they still have to roll for that peril, if they pass it, they can continue their activation as normal. If they fail it, their activation ends, because that's the rule for failing a peril. If you fail a peril, your activation ends. However, they would only take that 1 hit, right? If it was a 1 challenge peril, they would only take 1 hit, and that would be automatically passed. So they wouldn't even have to roll for it. So although if it's a 1 peril, we know it's not going to hurt them, but it could still cost them their activation. If you draw a challenge, if you draw a peril that has a 2 or a 3 challenge on it, then they roll for those as normal, and if they fail, then they're going to take either 2 hits or 3 hits, whichever is appropriate based on that. Let's see. Some folks have asked about what happens if you're reanimated and you are armored. Okay, well, there's 2 things there that occur. One is that both of them slow you, but there's no such thing as being double slowed or anything like that. So although both of them say that you cannot run unless you're going to rush, that applies to both of them. It has no further effect, in other words. The other thing that happens is that if you're armored, you get a bonus dice for all of your health checks, right? So let's say they took 3 hits. That means that they're going to get that bonus dice, and they would roll their health check as normal. Remember, the only thing that reanimated affects is if you suffer 1 hit. So if you suffer 1 hit, then you're automatically going to pass that, and armored has no further effect because you automatically passed it anyway. If you suffer 2 or more hits, then you handle it as normal, and that's when your armor would kick in, and you'd get to roll that extra dice. And then, of course, the how it works for the gangs is really pretty simple. It's intended to work exactly like it would for a normal character. However, gangs do not roll health checks. So the way you handle that instead is simply to say, rather than losing a model, if they were only hit with 1 hit, then they would ignore that. If they are facing a peril that would cause 1 hit, then they ignore that. It still affects the gang exactly as if it was a normal character, except a gang doesn't normally roll a health check, so you just have to jump forward to, it ignoring a single hit. Doesn't mean it does anything to bigger hits. Remember that. It has no effect on anything that causes 2 hits or anything that causes 3 hits. Reanimated is only a level 1 ability, but you could take it for any level character. It's a level 1 ability. It's not intended to be super duper. It's intended to have the effect that we designed it to have. All right, boys and girls, if you have any questions about Reanimated, you got to let us know. Leave it down in the comments below. And while you're at it, make sure you get subscribed to our little channel. Hit that like button, hit that bell so you get a notification when we upload a new video. And that's it for today. We will see you soon. Bye, everybody.